So it's all about how do you manage behavior, but not just behaviors of franchisees, it's also yourself, your emotional control. How do you remain calm? And how do you build a positive culture? Everything to me was about culture. And if you have a positive culture, it's not about yourself. It's about how you can get the best out of other people. The one thing I say to every franchisee when I sign a contract, I said, we're not going to get angry at each other. It's unprofessional. We are always, there's going to be differences. There's going to be stuff you don't understand. I said, we always have to react to it in a professional manner. And even if I help franchisees across Australia with other franchisors, when I help them out, it's about neutralize the situation and keep everyone calm. And you don't get that naturally, Joel. You get it from reading topics and learn from sources. There's so much material available.
So welcome to the Gyms podcast. Today we've got a bit of a different interview. So we've just done our franchisor surveys, and based on those feedback from franchisees, you get award levels. And the highest achievement in the Gyms Group Franchisor Support is the Diamond Award. So it's above 90%. So it's very hard to achieve. And Manie got 2 regions with the Diamond Award. So we got one with a full 100%, which means he's literally the number one franchisor based on support in the country, based on that figure. And then I think your other region, which was the JBI Northern WA region, was 96%, putting you 4th out of the Diamond Award winners. So you got number 1 and number 4 for those regions, Manie, out of the whole Gyms Group franchise also. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I'm pretty wrapped, Joel. It's it definitely comes with hard work, and I think it was unexpected. It's really good reflection. So you feel like getting an award for putting the hard work makes you feel good.
Now, if you're a prospect listening to this, a franchisor, just outline, is like your full-time support person. So when you become a franchisee, you have a franchisor. They're your go-to for everything. So do you want to just outline how many franchisees do you currently have receiving support from you, Manie?
It recently changed, Joel. I've got 44 franchisees now. It was up to the financial year, end of the financial year, it was 24 franchisees in that reward process. And I just basically jumped up to 44. I've got a few more regions under my belt now, including Gold Coast and Sydney and Northern Territory.
Now, do you want to outline for people, what do you get surveyed on? So what are the questions that franchisees get? So I've got your numbers here, so I can read them out. But what are the questions that franchisees typically get asked on these surveys?
The first one they ask is your franchisor calling you weekly or fortnightly or monthly.
Yeah.
So obviously, if it's weekly, you get 100% score on that. The second question from memory is your franchisor supportive? And also, I might have the sequence wrong, right? But also the other question is, does your franchisor respond to calls immediately or the next day or something like that? Yeah. That's from memory. And I think they also asked the franchisees about how they're performing financially, good income. But I'm not sure if that counts toward our score, but I think it's basically the first 3 questions, yeah.
It's definitely, the income is definitely on there, so you got them all spot on. Well done. So, obviously you rated very well on that, top franchisor in Australia for one region and 4 for the other one out of all the franchisors is a pretty amazing effort. So, Ram, do you want to just talk about because I think gyms, like franchisors, it's a bit hard because a lot of franchisors don't network with people outside the gyms system. So you don't talk to master franchisees, as they're called, outside of gyms or other franchisors from other brands. And I do a little bit because I go to some conferences and stuff like that. And I think we underestimate how good the support is from franchisors. Sometimes you get a bit of a whack franchisors, but the support I think you guys provide to franchisees, I think is really second to none. And this is from me talking to other systems, a bit on network, a bit with some of the other people. I think it's quite amazing the level of support that you guys provide. So maybe just an outline for people listening to this. Why do you think you got such a high rating? Like you do get assessed on those 4 metrics, but there's obviously more to that besides the metrics that you provide.
Yes, there's a lot more to it, Joel. First of all, I had to stop working as a franchisee to be able to put all my effort just in my franchisees, right? So I still believe that you divide your energy and time, and when franchisees really need you and you are busy providing a service like pest control or a building inspection, you can't pay attention to them right at that moment. So that's one of the things I've changed completely, being just a franchisor. And I also want to grow, and I know national office want us to grow, but I thought, hang on a sec, culture and understanding their roles and my role is pretty important. I've learned this actually at the divisional conference that, use the Kahoot and feed the manual and the contracts to the Kahoot game and then play it back to the franchisees. In my meetings, I did a questionnaire about contracts and manuals and stuff. And that way I educated the franchisees more about their tasks, their roles, and also my role, and also my availability and what my tasks are, So that's one simple thing I applied. The other thing was I made it an effort every Monday. That's why I scheduled this with you today on Tuesday. Every Monday, everything is locked out. No one can have a meeting with me whatsoever That's just the day I call my franchisees, every single one of them on a Monday. So it's 44 calls now that I do every Monday. And I don't care if a franchisee takes a half an hour or an hour of my time. So yes, I make sure the ones that's in WA, I can call them up to 5 because obviously over Easter, finishing earlier, I start early in the morning. But my dedication is my franchisees on a Monday. That way it opens my space for any other support they need for the rest of the week. And it's also the gamification on the Jimbo app, right? To me, it's gamification. It shows you 100%. I just like to chase 100%. On the top of that, also, it's about the meetings. I have decided, you know what? It doesn't take much to have a meeting once a month. Why do I have to stick to the manual of having just 4 or 6 meetings? I give the franchisees the flexibility to say, hey, if you have something on and you're going to miss a meeting, there's now so many meetings, you will definitely be combined throughout the year by attending a lot of meetings. So, but it also it's for me to stay close to the franchisees and help them out. No one can say I'm not supporting because all of the calls and all of the meetings throw them with, So
2 questions for you. I just ask you specifically some more advice to other franchisors. So that's great that you block out a day. I think that's awesome. You get out of the way. So those calls, what are you running through on those calls? Is it just a general g'day, or you just sort of you know each one is individually so well, you've got specific advice prepared every time? What are you saying on those calls?
I sort of categorize it, all right? First of all, I want to hear, how was your weekend? First go personal. Just want to know emotionally, personally, how they're going. Just have a good chat about that. Then I would actually switch over to, hey, here's the things I'm busy doing for you. All right. For example, I just took over the pest control region in Sydney. So I'm busy setting up these franchisees with Google My Business listings and make sure they all have a QR code that can actually help to get their reviews up a lot quicker. So then I explain to them, hey, these are the things I'm working on for you. Then we go through, how's your workload? All right. Give me a bit of feedback. How are you going? But it's 2 sides. One side is the leads and the conversions, and the other side is also your referrals and your repeat business and your pickups. To make sure there's that mix of a good, strong business, I make sure franchisees don't 100% rely on leads. They need to understand they are in a business, okay? And lastly, I would actually making sure I ask them, is there anything you need my help with? Is there anything that you want me to sort out for you this week? And I'll make sure I say to them, hey, this is my weekly call when I start, all right? And I make sure I finish it. I'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, so you give me that certainty all the time, and they know when they call you, they've got you for this period to do these certain things, and you're always following the similar structure in your calls, which I think is really good advice. And now with your meetings then, Manie, because course content can be, what do I say? A lot of franchisors, you know yourself from meeting for so long, might struggle to come up with, what do I present at the meeting every time so people aren't bored? So how do you structure your meetings and how do you come up with the content ideas for it?
Well, content ideas, I have developed a talent LMS, all about it. All right. So there's a lot of topics in there that I'm now throwing into my meetings as well. One thing I want to say to you is that, yes, I do run the meetings and the face-to-face meetings, which I do 3 to 4 times a year. They are very comprehensive. There's so much takeaways from the meetings and so much I give them statistics updates. I give them marketing updates. I do the code questionnaire, which I learned out of the contracts and manuals and stuff. The online meetings, they are actually meetings where I let the franchisees dial in and I say, this meeting is just yours. It's an open conversation. Share what you learned, share with others what they need to do. I just leave it completely for the franchisees, open to discuss. And I absolutely love the discussion meetings. Sometimes I have to do a little bit drag the stuff out of them, get the conversation going. But I enjoy when I see, there's a flow now. They're talking. They found a topic and they're talking about it. So I think you've got to have a bit of a good mix. And one thing I didn't do enough this year, the previous years I say, guys, all right, today's a social meeting. Let's get to a pub, no shirts on. All right, let's just get together and have just a social meeting. I haven't done much this year because I had a very, very busy year structuring all the things. But it's definitely on my scheduling for next year that at least once a quarter, I'll do a social meeting as well. I think it's really important that they socialize. And I also do mixed groups from time to time. So some of the meetings, there's at least 2 meetings, and then also the year-end function that I combine the building and the pest guys, and I even invited the handyman guys. And it's amazing the business they exchange. They actually start to learn to work together. It's really hard to come up with topics sometimes, but I think pest control is fairly easy because you can target a specific control. You can do and control and have a conversation about it and share in a room the experiences, because it doesn't matter. And control is and control. You can do so much with it, but every house you go has got a different experience. So it's great to share the guys' experiences in a meeting like that,
So just to sum up for people listening is that 3 or 4 you're doing in-person meetings, which you've got a way more material and you've got your Kahoot and stuff, which is fantastic. And then the other meetings are your just open forum discussion, getting people together and having a chat, which is great. That's a really good way to structure it as well. And you're going way beyond the requirements of the agreement too, which I think is a good thing.
It is a good thing because now it's there monthly. Yeah. And everyone knows, so different groups, they've got every second Tuesday of the month. The other group got every first Tuesday of the month. The franchisors got every certain day of the month. So it's there and it's good planning for myself as well. It's structured. I know when it is. But it's because I've got 11 meetings throughout the year, the only month I miss is January because everyone come through festive season, a holiday mood, and summer's still away. It's the only month I skip. We start in February, but it gives us flexibility. Hey guys, if you're really flat out, just send me a notification. There's enough meetings that they can be 100% compliant.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And also you're providing more value as well. I think the franchisees, they get way more, or they're getting a lot of value from that. If you break it down really you're essentially a business coach and mentor and all these things roll in one, and they get a weekly access to yourself every single week, plus the meetings every month. External business coach, for example, would be charging $3,000-4,000 a month for something like that, and they wouldn't even provide 3/4 of that value. So I think it's an amazing offer that you guys provide.
Yeah, correct. Look, I mean, for me, it was about, you probably know, I've spoken about this many, many times. How can I make the business sticky? How can I do more to minimize attrition? Before I want to sell, I really want to have a good culture in my group of franchisees. If we all work well together and they're all happy and they find my support absolutely superior, then I think I can grow easily with new franchisees. Where I found before, yes, I grow, and out of experience, if they struggle and you don't put enough effort into trying to coach them to be successful, then your attrition is quite high. So it's something that I just started to do, and I feel it's working. I just definitely want to continue on that. I want to really put a target on myself to get 100% on all of my regions by next year, because I feel this method is working. The evidence shows it's working. You always worry about, are they voting emotionally, right? Just my franchisor call back immediately. I normally call back immediately if I'm available, but you still get the odd ones saying, no, he doesn't. And I go like, oh, all right, what can I do to change that? Because I do make sure as soon as I'm available, I call back. But there's obviously emotions, feeling it's the next day or whatever. We can work on it. One thing I like, the fact that, previously I would say, no, I did speak to you every week. Why is it that I'm not getting that? Now I'm making sure they all know they're getting that call. And I make sure in my correspondence to them, it's your weekly call. It's completely changed. Now I've got 100% on all my franchisees, Manie calls weekly.
That's amazing. It's really good. And it's a great point. You're right. It can be, if the franchisee is struggling with something, it could not even be to do with the franchise. They get the survey and just angrily or whatever ticks something that's not accurate. And I understand that as well. From franchisor's perspective, that can be quite very frustrating when you're doing everything right and you still get that. It can be quite annoying for franchisors. So I understand that, which is why you've done an amazing job, because the franchise relationships are a very unique one, as you know, and it comes in a wave. And to get 2 regions, number 1 and number 4 out of the whole of Australia and New Zealand is quite an amazing result, but it's also a big testament to what you're doing. It's a fantastic system you've got in place, and obviously the feedback says it is. Yeah,
definitely. And like I said, I feel honored to have such high scores. I'm definitely going to go back and say thank you to my franchisees. This year I kept it completely natural. Didn't know when the surveys was coming out. Yeah. I just kept doing what I was doing, and I'm still continuing to do that, and it feels good to me. It feels great that they expecting my call on a Monday. I know a lot of people are going to listen to this, but I'm going to tell you the secret, Joel. Since I've started doing this, I have a lot more time on my hands, because previously when you were doing your proactive calls during the week and have no structure to it, you stay busy, and a client complaint could fill your calendar and take a lot of your time, or anything could happen and you just don't get to those calls. But now that my calendar is blocked out on a Monday and I do all my calls, it frees up my time. So if there's anything else popping up in my calendar, I have time to sort it out. All right. So it definitely works for me, and I want to definitely continue. But there's a lot of things I already feel like I can improve on. Now that it's working, I want to tweak it more and see what else I can do.
It's amazing what you've done, and it's a great, just that discipline you've got every single week, discipline, right? And then discipline's the thing which will get you these results, which you've done. And I was going to then ask you as well, your knowledge as well personally, because you're a very knowledgeable person. What resources do you look for to increase your knowledge and learning? So you obviously, looking at a whole bunch of different things. Is there any websites or resources that you can recommend for other franchisors or for people in general that you found very helpful to yourself?
Well, yeah, could you say resources? I did study a master's degree in business before I joined the Gyms group. And I actually started to go back to my leadership books. All right, so I've got lots of them. Then I started to also use AI topics and stuff, just research, certain topics about leadership or certain behaviors of what I can do. And then AI gives you a general knowledge about what they found on Google. And then out of that, I can also go search I like to read, so I like to go read about certain topics and stuff. So it's all about how do you manage behavior, but not just behaviors of franchisees, it's also yourself, your emotional control. How do you remain calm? And how do you build a positive culture? Everything to me was about culture. And if you have a positive culture, it's not about yourself. It's about how you can get the best out of other people. The one thing I say to every franchisee when I sign a contract, I said, we're not going to get angry at each other. It's unprofessional. We are always, there's going to be differences. There's going to be stuff you don't understand. I said, we always have to try to react to it in a professional manner. And even if I help franchisees across Australia with other franchisors, when I help them out, it's about neutralize the situation and keep everyone calm. And you don't get that naturally, Joel. You get it from reading topics and learn from sources. There's so much material available. One thing I can share with you is, since I talk about culture and material, Sue started this Jim's life coaching division. Yep. And I've seen her the first time at the divisional conference. And then I saw her again at the JBI conference. And in with the help of one of my franchisors, we invited Sue to our Pest Control franchisor conference. And that was a very more comprehensive presentation from her. And what I did was I've engaged Sue to do sessions with my franchisors, because I believe if culture is driven from the top down, we're going to have all of that positive energy we can drive straight down to our franchisees. Mm-hmm. So yeah, when you talk about resources material, we have it in our business with Sue, Jim's life coaching, that's amazing. But online material, you can just go search for whatever you want. How do I emotionally control myself, and how do I actually drive all positive energy? How do I drive positive energy out of people? That is so important. And that's what I'm trying to do.
There's a lot of great tools out there. There's a tool called HeyGen, and HeyGen, you can actually interact with a live avatar. And it's programmed to deal with hard conversations. So you get your live avatar in place, and it's literally got trained on hard conversations. So you can actually practice a hard conversation with a digital live avatar. But no, it's great to hear that. And then I'm glad you mentioned the life coaching, because I interviewed James, the first franchisee, last week, and we've done a YouTube video with him, and everything he said made a lot of sense. And I think mindset is so important. And as you said, it's managing your emotions and your mind is pretty much most of the battle, isn't it?
Oh, it is, definitely. Yeah. So a lot of the leadership books I revert back to, some of them are old, but a lot of stuff very relevant. I think it's Chris Cole. He wrote a lot of leadership books, and it's part of the master's degree qualifications as well. So he's wrote phenomenal books. But even Sue sent me some links of videos and stuff to watch. And, these days you can even, while you're driving, listen to podcasts and all sorts of things. But the most important thing is to surround yourself with positive people and learn about positive energy. We are bombarded with negative stuff all the time. If a franchisee calls you up and says, I'm not making money, there's not enough leads, how do you turn that around in a positive conversation? Franchisors are emotionally attacked by it straight away. I don't have work, Manie. I don't have money. I don't have leads. What do you do? What do you do to try to change the person around? A lot of franchisors and myself been there, you feel attacked straight away. No. What are you doing? So we need to find methods about coaching them and giving them that positive energy. All right. One of the things I'm trying to do from the day they start, I give them a business plan and say, you've got to have 10 sources where you're going to get work from. You cannot just rely on leads, because leads is something we work very hard for. It can go up and down all the time. What's your other 9 platforms? One of them could be a BNI network, but you have to have 10 platforms. You've got to monitor this on a monthly basis. So when they come back to me and say, I'm struggling, so all right, let's look at all 10 of your platforms. All right, how's it performing? If we're giving you about 20 leads a month and your other 9 platforms are generating 20 leads per month each, can you imagine how much work you're in? All right. So it's about providing positive tools they can use, but you also use it against them when they actually start complaining, because they really, really just got to work on your business. Exactly what I'm doing here, working on my business to get top awards, to get the best and give them the best. This is what I'm expecting from every franchisee.
And I'm sure a lot of franchisors can relate to what you're exactly saying, and that's quite a common thing. So how do you get that, as you said, get emotional about it, but how do you actually get them to implement what you're saying? Because obviously, franchisor, you can tell them as much as you want, but they've got to implement it. So how are you getting them to make sure they take the action? How do you follow it up, all that sort of stuff?
Well, one of the methods is when you do the weekly call. So I just took over the Pest Control Sydney franchise group. And one of the things I went to Sydney, spoke to them all, and I pulled up the last year's surveys and I said, look, guys, one thing I'm concentrating on is the income. 80% of you are not making good income. I said, here's the thing we're going to change. I said, you are very lucky because a lot of your business is repeat clients. Yes, I'm going to start implementing some tools to help you, like Google My Business and Facebook and all those surveys and everything, but the ownership's on you. All right, so it's about touching base with your regular clients. So what I do with the proactive calls now, I say to them, hey, like October, it's the start of the season. You're going to start calling all of your previous clients, and I'm going to touch base with you next week. Next week, that's recorded in my notes. That goes to Tim. All right, proactive call. Yep. Next week, Monday, I ask the same question. All right, that was your task last week. How did you go? All right, the ones where I set up the Google My Business listings, I send them the QR code and I say to them, hey, here's your target for this week. Start with other franchisees or anyone you worked for. All right, get 10 reviews so you are getting familiar how to use it. By next week, Monday, I'm going to check in if you've got those 10 reviews. Give them tasks, simple tasks. Don't overload them with stuff that's impossible to do. Give them simple tasks that helps.
Yeah, and then obviously you got that accountability thing. I don't want to be saying to you, I didn't do it, and then the next week, right? So it puts it back on them. And the simple task, I think, is a key thing as well. Yeah,
correct. Accountability, what you just said, is the big thing. When you work for yourself and there's no one driving you or checking in on you, you can easily go sit on the couch and you can easily fall in a negative hole. And to get out of that's pretty hard. When you work for a boss in a work environment, you've got KPIs and you get your tasks and you have to deliver to get your monthly salary. What is the accountability if you work for yourself? So to have someone friendly enough to help you and coach you and support you in a nice manner to say to you, hey, here's something simple to do that will help you. All right, let's check in again next Monday. It's putting on accountability on them. And you know what? If they feel the positive energy and they feel you're helping them, they actually do it. There are a few stubborn guys. If they going all right and there's no real big problems and they, feel like they don't want to do it, I say, look, I give you good advice. It's up to you to use it or not. But I've seen where it's working for other people. So use it if you want to. I don't force anyone to use the advice.
Now, how do you screen for that in your selection process? Someone wants to become a franchisee, because obviously, you want positive people in your region, and it can be very hard to sort of see a year down the track with someone. So how are you screening for that when you're putting on prospects?
I had to question myself a lot about the screening process because we're all desperate to grow. I was having this fear about, am I putting on people too easily? All right, because I had a few challenging situations in my last 9 years about, franchisees that doesn't quite work out. The screening process has been drastically changed, and I've actually said no to quite a few people in the last few months. My wife said to me, you say no to too many of them. I said, no, but it's very, very important I build a business with people that's going to make it work, all right? Because, yes, I can grow maybe slower, but I'm going to grow with quality people. That's what I want. Because if they are quality to other franchisees, businesses as well. If you bring in someone that's going to provide a really poor service or really struggle, yes, you can make them successful. I promise you, Bill, I had a franchisee. I started him probably 4 or 5 years ago now. He started with me in WA, tough accent. After my interview with this guy, I just picked up he's extremely smart, very knowledgeable. It took me 12 months to coach this guy. Until today, he moved to Victoria. I lost him as a franchisee. If you ever see this, you will know who I'm talking about. But he's super, super successful. And I'm very happy that I spent 12 months on him. It was hard work for me. So yes, I'm happy to give anyone a chance that I know is going to make it work. But the screening is about trying to identify, are there people that's going to commit? So the first thing I asked him is, send me a resume. All right. Out of a resume, you can see, has this person been jumping every 3 months to a new job? Have they been jumping every 6 months? Out of a resume, you can really see if there's consistency, if they're going to commit. That's one aspect. Maybe they will buy a franchise and be successful, so that you can't always judge it. The next thing you got to do is interview them and have a long interview with them. I do quite a few interviews. It's over video like this the first time because I'm quite remote, but the next time it would be in person if I really feel this guy's going to go forward. In between, I might actually put him in contact with franchisees as well, as many as possible, and they can give me feedback as well. So the screening process is pretty tough for me at the moment. I feel I say no to a lot of people, but they've got to be financially strong. They've got to be having their positive commitment. They've got to make it work. But I'm going to, I say to them from the start, you have to do all the research. And from the start, I'm going to give you a business plan. You cannot enter this business without a solid business plan. So that's the things I follow.
So what are, you said something interesting I never heard anyone say before, which is about the resume. I don't think I've ever heard a franchisor ask for a resume from a prospect, and I think that's a good thing that you point out regarding if they're going to jump between it. So what are some red flags to you then? So when you do the meetings, let's say face-to-face, the resume looks okay. What are things or red flags that you think franchisors should look out for, that you look out for? Is it something in terms of what they say, or when you talk about expectations or something, they respond a certain way? What are the red flags to you that said this person won't be a good prospect?
Well, there's quite a few things, all right? It's very, very hard to pick out negative behavior, but you can actually hear how they talk, all right? You can definitely try to work out if they're going to be a complaining kind of person or whatever, just by having a long conversation with them, all right? Because they will criticize their previous job or criticize what they've done or criticize anything by nature, but you got to be having a long conversation to actually pull it out of them. Just look out for it. The next thing is about what do they want. A person that's going to make a really good franchisee is someone that's got a long-term view. And you can clearly ask them about it and draw it out of them. What's your plan? It's a 20-year contract. Well, how do you see yourself fulfilling this contract for 20 years? Now, by the first time I looked at their resumes, all right, and I pulled it up. I said, well, you've changed jobs so many times. What is it that I have to believe you're going to commit to this for 20 years? And I want to know also, are they actually likely to read and learn? Because that's a big problem, Joel. If they don't want to read, they can't switch on a computer, they're really going to struggle. They're not going to read your manuals. They're not going to read your contracts. They're not going to learn how to do the job properly. All right, that's a big red flag to me. So when you get a resume, you get that number one, because the person that really cares about reading and understanding and stuff, they're going to send you one amazing resume. Yes, you can pull up a resume with ChatGPT fairly quick and easy these days, but you can even work out if they wrote it themselves or was written by an AI expert. The resume gives me so much information. I know how old they are, all right? I know what's their history, what they studied, what they worked in, have they had their own businesses, because it gives you just a lot of information. And also, I have a very comprehensive franchise application form where they also pull out all their skills and the areas of weaknesses where they think they need learning from and all those kind of things. That helps me as well. And I think the other most important thing, a person can't buy a franchise is they're really financially going to be scraping their asses, right? So I normally want to know how financially stable they are. Do they own a house? Have they got savings? How are you going to buy a franchise? There's nothing wrong asking this up front. So I know Jim is not a fan of selling someone a franchise where they borrowed the money from mom and dad. So yes, it's a big no, because how many times if people just give something to you on a plate, you're just not going to look after it. So it's very, very important to understand they put in their efforts, they put in their money, and they're going to put in the skills to learn, be successful, to make a success of the franchise.
And what are the common traits and what are the common things that you see with your successful franchisees as prospects? Is there certain things that stand out to you or can maybe give an indication this person will do well? Or?
Oh, yes. Number one is follow my advice, follow the system and follow the processes and exactly, communicate. If they're good communicators, they're going to be successful. The ones that isolate themselves fairly early, it's a big worry, because one thing I've learned, I actually saw this on an interview with Janine Ellis. You know who she is? She was on...
Best juice lady. Yeah, she used to work at Retail Zoo. Yeah.
I saw... Now, when I studied my MBA, I had my views about what make the business successful. But Janine mentioned something in an interview. Someone asked her, hey, what makes businesses fail? She said in that interview, the very first thing that leads to failure is lending your ears out to the wrong advice. And I actually tell every prospect this, all right? I say, you're going to be listening to me. I'm your coach. If you're going to listen to Joe Blow, who's a negative Nancy, you're going to fail. The second thing, you won't believe it, is financials. I always believe it's the reason why businesses fail, but it's actually financials is the second one, because franchisees, by nature of small businesses, don't understand how to keep GST separate, don't understand how to keep tax separate, and comes to tax bills, it gives massive surprises. They also get wrong advice from accountants about how to set themselves up. All right, so financial could be definitely the second. I totally agree with that. And then the third reason why I fail, according to Janine, which I totally agree, is quality of service. You would think quality would be first, but no, we've got a big population, so you will provide a hell of a lot of services and poor services until you actually start, people recognize that you are not good, and then you're out of the system. But yeah, that's, to me, the three things I make sure every prospect knows. lending your ears out to a negative franchisee or anyone outside of the system and deviate you from what we're teaching you and coaching you, all right, will make you fail.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think people listening to people who've got no idea what they're doing or never done what they're doing, I think it's a big no-no. And I think it's unfortunately some people do, which is a bit annoying. And I think even prospects going through your process, they would go and talk to an accountant or a business advisor about gyms and all franchises are this and that and talk them out of it, which happens quite a bit, unfortunately. And I've interviewed a few franchisees who said they didn't listen to their accountant and it was the best thing they ever did. So I think people need to stop listening to so many people who've got no idea about the gym system or how everything works.
Yeah, definitely. And the more you can learn. So to me, one of the most important things is you got to ask them. Now, what they say could be one thing and reality could be a different thing. But you got to ask prospects, do you like learning? Do you like reading? But you can get it out of their resume. You can see how they've got qualifications. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be certificates. It doesn't have to be degrees and stuff. You just want to see how comprehensive is their resume, how much stuff is in there. You can actually pick up whether these guys like to read and learn because every division we have is different, all right? But if I've got one franchisee, he constantly called me 2-3 times a week. He calls me after I had the proactive call. He calls me, Manie, I've got a win for you. And he tells me not just how he pick up another job, but the stuff he learned. He says, I enrolled into this certification. I just got this certification. This is good news. I just want to share the good news with you. This guy will do well just because he goes out and do the extra mile and fulfilling his brain with more knowledge and energy the whole time. And that's what you got to do as a business owner. You got to continue to grow. And I know from Jim's podcast, I've heard it as well. You got to learn something new every day.
Absolutely. No, Jim definitely does that. Don't worry about that. I was going to say as well then, Manie, for prospects watching this, what's the type of, what type of business can they build in this sort of business? Because you've obviously started as a franchisee. I think you started as a franchisee. You didn't come as a franchisor, and you've obviously progressed to be a massive, franchisor now. But what type of business can someone coming into a gym's franchise in your region build like? Because we always get this question: how much will I make? What can I do? Restrictions, all that sort of stuff. In a sort of a nutshell, can you provide a bit of an overview of what is possible within a franchise within your region?
All right. I like your question, and I'll explain to you in a very short way what I've achieved in my 9 years, all right? So I bought a region with 2 franchisees and started my own franchise at the same time. So it was deep in for me. I had to learn how to manage these franchisees plus doing my own thing and build a business. The day I started my franchise, now this would question the fact that I said I want people that can financially look after themselves. But I started my franchise and my business, and I had $200 left in my account on the day I started my business. No one knew this, right? This is stuff I keep to myself. It was nerve-wracking, but I worked my ass off. Today I own Jim's Building Inspections, 2 regions in WA, Jim's Pest Control, 2 regions in WA, Jim's Pest Control in Sydney, Jim's Building Inspections Gold Coast, and I just took over Jim's Pest Control Northern Territory yesterday. That's what I've achieved in 9 years. So my own franchisees, 44 of them, plus I look after the Jim's Pest Control division across Australia, which got 5 franchisors. I'll build all of that. So enough of me. Now, what can a person achieve? That's a great question, and it's always a question you get from every franchisee or any prospect. And I always say, what you put in is what you get out. 100%. Now, what you put in is always questionable. People don't understand it. When I see franchisees, I've got a lot of metrics I put in place when a franchisee start to keep tracking them, right? We give them this pay for work guarantee, $2,000 a week. I tell them from the start, look, if that's your target, you're not a business owner. You can't buy a business because there's a pay for work guarantee of $2,000. If you target $2,000, really, go get a job, man. Right? You want to start a business. You got to exceed that. We are in the services industry. How can you question if there's enough work? Your personality attracts people. What you do, your energy that you push out is what people like. You've got to be a likable fellow. You've got to be communicating. You've got to do a lot of things to actually grow. And that's why I say, what you put in is what you get out. You've got to be active out there. Now, I've seen a lot of franchisees, they're happy to buy a franchise and just have a comfortable salary. There's nothing wrong with that. But why didn't you just get a job, right? Because you can really achieve a lot more. We all have seen videos of Dan Cahill and a lot of other successful franchisees and franchisors in the business, all right? I've got franchisees that's driving, getting income of $400,000 and $500,000, even up to $1 million a year.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
They are there. We've got some very, very successful franchisees. It is purely because if I look at them, it's how they operate, how they structure themselves, how they set themselves up, and how they communicate with me. I've got one franchisee. If I say to you, he calls me 5 times a week. Sometimes it's 5 times a day he calls me. I go, sometimes I'm very busy and I go like, oh, it's him again. But you know what? I'll take the call. It's a lot of conversations, and there's some great conversations and a lot of challenges too. It just challenges me on stuff I say from time to time. But this guy is the top earner. All right, he makes lots of money. So you consult with me. I've given another guy a chance a couple of years ago. He was the youngest person I ever started. And within a year, he stopped taking leads. And he's probably getting the most work as a young franchisee. And he's performing exceptionally well. He's clearing well over the $200,000 a year, making really good income. But it's what he put in, He actually constantly learned. And he constantly sends me text messages and stuff. He says, hey, Manie, I've learned this and this and this and this. Can you check this over? And when he actually asks me questions, he give me the answer first. He says, this is my answer to it. What do you think? He doesn't draw out of me what he wants. He actually go out and do the hard work himself. So yes, Joel, I totally believe what you put in is what you're going to get out. So if you only get out $5,000 a month, it's nothing with the system. It's what you put in. You got to change your methods. You got to go learn how to make yourself better. It comes with, even conversions. I said to franchisees, here's a very important thing I share with them as prospects. I said, look, if it's a sporty person, I can actually use this analogy. I say to him, have you ever run a marathon before? If you have run a marathon before, how much effort does it take to actually end up in the top 10? It's a lot of work. You have to practice for like 12 months and more. It's hard work every day. Very important to know, none of us are born with selling skills. So what are you going to do to learn to sell? You're going to go listen to podcasts. You're going to download material. And you're going to have to learn what I do. All right. So I always say to franchisees when they start, I've got the 12-week training package. And one of the things is objective selling, all right? So objective selling is if you've got the client on the phone and she says, oh, I just got to talk to my husband. All right, that's an objective. What are you going to do next time someone tell you that? Now, that's learn to sell, all right? You got to close it. I had a franchisee on my phone yesterday on Monday when I practiced a course. He said to me, Manie, I just got to share this with you. I've got now 100% conversion on my leads. And I thought, man, that's fantastic. And then my next call with my franchisee was, Manie, the leads are terrible. What can you do to validate them before you send them to us? I really only convert about 25% of. Wow. All right. So you can see it's because this one person making an effort. You learn, how can I sell it? And the next person goes like, oh, man, all they ask is for a quote. I say, yeah, what's your objective? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So yes and no. Here's an idea. Look, I'm in that facility tomorrow. How about I come out and have an inspection for you? All right, for free. And we'll take it from there. Of course they're going to say yes. It's free. You're coming out. And boom, you can convert it on site.
Absolutely. And it's a great bit of advice because, look, we obviously support a heap of franchises at head office and we get similar sort of things. So it's a really great thing that you say as well. And I was going to ask you as well, people's ears might prick when they hear those figures. So you've got some franchisees turning over $500,000, $400,000, and even someone turning over $1 million in your region, which is an amazing effort. And let's just point out for people, because we get a lot of funny stuff online about Jim takes 40%, 30%. So that franchisee who's turning over $1 million compared to someone, let's say, turning over $300,000 in your region, they're paying exactly the same flat fee, aren't they?
Exactly the same thing. One thing I always coach people about is that it's all about that negative and positive mindset. You have to put money in your car to drive from A to B, all right? If you're going to be worried about that money, all right, you're worried about the negative side of things. Paying the fees is something that you have to understand. I'm making the money to pay. I pay these fees to make that money. So you've got to pay the fees. But you're 100% right. Whether you make $500,000 or you make $200,000, you pay the same fees. And probably less if you make more. Because if you're earning $500,000, then a lead fee of $30, well, I must say the guys that's earning $500,000, they don't take leads anymore because they just generate better business. They've got that. They've got a referral network. They've got that warm personality and just drive. So it's completely different. Their cost is even less because they don't pay lead fees. But they stay in the system because they get support. We've got the systems. Yes, the systems is something that we constantly grow and get better. I would love the Jim's Jobs app to be absolute next level. I'm a part of that working group with the Infotech guys, and I think the next application will be absolutely fantastic. And that's what we need. We need to give them as much as possible to stick with the brand. And the brand helps you to make money. Everyone, there's people that criticize gyms. Let them be. We've got so many successful franchisees, and that's why we're here. That's why we're enjoying it. I love to see people be successful, mate. I get a thrill. It is so rewarding to actually talk to a guy that's making a success of his business. It's not hard, Joe.
The ROI for gyms franchises is amazing when you think about the monthly fee and the initial investments, what the return on investment actually is. It far exceeds any site-based franchise. People have this wrong in their head that they need to own 6 Nando's or 5 Nando's, but you can make such amazing ROI from a gyms franchise within your first year. It's quite amazing, which is why we keep talking about it all the time, because we just want people to stop thinking that you have to get the site-based franchise for 200, 300 grand when you can do something like a pest controller or JBI franchise, and your ROI is far better. And, don't just take our word for it. They can call franchisees and see it as well. And I think the fees, like, even though when people hear the fees, our fees in Australia compared to American franchises for similar franchises are that cheap. I remember I did a talk for Promo Republic, and there was a lady from Rolling Suds. Rolling Suds is a massive window and pressure cleaning franchise in America, and they do turn over probably more on average than franchisees in here. But their marketing levy alone per month per franchisee, which is a mobile service like ours, is $2,000 a month US. Wow. That's the marketing levy. Doesn't take in the royalties or anything else. So I think the franchisees in Australia, I know we're biased, but I tell you what, they get compared to other systems out there, it is the best, one of the best deals. I just think there's always so many people who just think it's too good to be true, but just call the franchisees and see for yourself.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with you. They don't really know it until they actually change. Because remember, a lot of franchisees come in from an employee background. This is their first business. So their perspective is, these fees, it's too high. I had a franchisee, he left 3 years ago. He lent his ears out to the wrong people. And he quit his franchise, and he's gone private. And I bumped into him at a conference, and this is not long ago, a couple of months ago. And he said to me, Manie, I lend my ears out to the wrong advice. I miss gyms every day. He says that $2,000 a month I paid was a breeze. He says I had to employ someone to help me with the admin. I had to employ someone to help with the marketing. That's not even the marketing cost. He said my overhead is now $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a month, and I'm not making a significant amount of money more. He said I also lost a lot of clients that decided to go back to gyms. I said, well, with all your stuff you're telling me, why did you come back? You were a fantastic franchisee. He said, yeah, I would love to. He says, but clients going to think I'm a knob because changing brands so many times. I said, well, it's just emotional feelings, mate. My door is open for you any time. But yeah, it was good to hear from someone that left that's still friendly with me and explained to me he made a mistake. I loved it.
It's great that he's that honest, and hopefully he does come back, because we want more people to come back if they feel that way. Because you're right, because I see all the time, obviously, social media is it can be a good gauge, but you get a lot of independents all the time jumping on our gym stuff, and why pay $700, $800 a month? I can do all this sort of stuff. It's like, as an independent business with website costs, hosting costs, Google ads, SEO, and then, as you said, all the other stuff, it's such a good deal. And I just think, even though we are biased, because we just don't take our word for it, get a list of the franchisees if they're inquiring for your region, for example, and call them and ask yourself. I just think it's crazy. There's misconceptions around franchising or around gyms franchising in general as well. Unfortunately, it's hard with the same brush, but the flat fee model plus what they pay per month, get all this support. It's just a good deal. It's just a very good deal. It's still a best kept secret, even though we're the largest in Australia, in my opinion.
You make me excited by hearing how excited you are about it, Joel.
Well, I am, because I talk a lot in I talk to a lot of other people outside the gym system, and I've started doing some talks with American franchises, and when they hear about what we do and hear what they do to there, I just think we undercharge. We seriously undercharge by a lot for what is provided. We're not saying we're going to put charges up, but I think the value that the gyms franchise provides in comparison to not just Australia and the rest of the world, from what I know, with mobile services in particular, it is the best deal in the world. In my opinion.
Definitely. And I do recall I had these conversations with prospects. Actually, one very recently is very keen to sign up as a building inspector. The guy's super qualified. And for the last 2 months, he's been asking a tremendous amount of questions. And we had this conversation, and I said to him, look, you can go do your research. It is the easiest contract in the world. So what other contracts can you just walk away from? I said, not that I want you to walk away. I said, but you can. And then the fee structure. I said, I have to have a lot of franchisees to actually financially be in a good position, where franchisees can make a lot of money just by the services. I'm sometimes jealous. I feel like as a franchisee, I can make a lot more money. This is actually just jumping subject. I always say to franchisors or anyone that wants to be a franchisor, I said, if you're a kind of person that likes to help other people, you can be a franchisor. Otherwise, you can't be. But this is what I'm enjoying. And I'm enjoying to get the results of helping franchisees, coaching them. And I feel like I can make more money on other things, but I'm enjoying this. And this is why I'm buying more regions. And my mission is culture first, 100% culture, because I believe culture fights attrition. Culture fights attrition. I always wanted to put systems, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of money. And it doesn't, it's not something I can implement tomorrow. But culture, I believe, can actually grow your business a lot better.
I just want to ask you that very quickly. So you mentioned a lot about what you do in your region, which will obviously contribute to culture. But is there anything else besides culture? Because everyone goes, we want to have good culture, right? And sporting clubs, everyone pays millions of dollars for consultants to try and get a good culture. So you mentioned a few things earlier in the interview, but what else is there in terms of building good culture? What are the learnings, or what are some things that you think contribute to that goal of having a good culture amongst all your regions?
I think that the culture is really by making sure, as a franchisor, I'm making sure I deal with everything they ask for straight away. On meetings, I normally say to the guys when I have any meetings, I say, there's nothing on my desk waiting, all right? So sometimes I could have a challenge. Sometimes I could have something that could take me a week or two to sort out. But if it's low-hanging fruit, a franchisee asks you. So yesterday I was sitting in front of my computer doing all my proactive calls. And as they asked for it, I said, yep, all right, I'll email to you now. Boom, send it straight away. Boom, it's done. So it's about keeping that workload as low as possible by giving them what they want straight away. All right. Like I said, sometimes they ask for stuff that's out of my control and it's really, really hard to get. And it could take a little bit longer. But at least that's in my notes. It's my priority list and I get to it. But you must make sure you always deliver. And don't be shy as a franchisor to say to franchisee, look, that's not my role, but I want to try to help you. Because sometimes they could ask for things completely out of your control. And it's really, like I said, I used to coach them about what's my role and what I do. Even my working hours. I know this is one thing, we all look up to Jim, and Jim has got this 24/7 support, right? I can call Jim anytime, and I know for a living fact I've been having conversations with Jim 9 o'clock at night, and I go like, it's 11 in Melbourne, and he still takes my call. I remember me and Jim having conversations on Sundays, which I absolutely don't expect him to have with me on a Sunday. But I have been coaching my franchisees, hey, in your contract, my working hours is 9 to 5, right? And I do that with a could. I ask them the questions because I want to make sure they read it. But the reason I'm doing that, Joel, is to give me the time to focus on things that I need to work on to support them better. My phone and my private life and everything needs to be respected. And my coaching franchisees about what is working hours and stuff is not so bad. And even email that you get, all right? You can actually, when you send an email, you can schedule it to go out the next morning at 8 o'clock. No one has to receive a bad email at 9 o'clock at night and you don't sleep well. Simple principles, simple little things. And this is, when you say topics in meetings, this is great topics for meetings.
I think it's a great point, but also it reiterates the points to the franchisees as well to get their own, have their own work-life balance as well, and sort of put it back to them. I think that's why people join gyms as well, as the work-life balance, right? More family time. So having those clearly boundaries, I think, is important. Not a lot of people set those boundaries, and people, as you would know, will take advantage if you don't set those boundaries from the start. So it's a really important point that you mentioned to keep reiterating that. And from the start, I think it's a really good thing to do. And I think you got that expectation in place from the start. It just makes everything a lot easier. When you try and bring that in down the track, it's definitely a lot harder.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
You've obviously got the two divisions. So you've got JBI and you've got Pest. So real quickly in a nutshell, what's the pest control franchise offering that you have on offer?
Pest control, amazing business because any person can qualify for it. All we got to do is, obviously I've got Sydney and WA and different license requirements, but to get your provisional license, to get your license could take anything between 1 and 2 months. And while we're doing that, we can get through all the contractual requirements and the vehicle setup and the whole work. So you could take about 3, worst case 4 months, but 3 months to get you started as in a pest control franchise. Given that everything, the most important is to get through the studies. Like I said, important way up front to learn. This person is going to study and he's going to get a job done. All right, so I've just signed up to 2 new pest controllers. right now in WA, and they're going through the licensing, and I say to him, you can delay license, but then you delay your start date, right? And I'll give them a full program on it. One thing I started in WA, which will happen now in Sydney as well with my new region and also Northern Territory, is I try to make it much better for franchisees. So the previous model, franchisees had to go set up the whole vehicle, get the canopy or the trailer or the bus or whatever they want, and set up the equipment, and we give them all the supplies. It took an enormous amount of time. But also what happened was consistency of their quality and stuff. Some with less good quality on their vehicles, other with higher quality equipment on their vehicles, and they also deviate from the chemicals and stuff. And there was a model where we said, we have the principal model, but you can do what you want. And I felt like, hang on a sec, if we say you can do what you want, we don't really drive that high-end quality, right? And we don't really look quality-wise because the vehicles are a mixed match. Yeah. So I've changed a brand new model 18 months ago in WA, trailers and canopies. So I supply them. So the franchise now come fully equipped with your uniforms, which belongs to the franchise, with a mobile number that belongs to the franchise, with a canopy or a trailer that belongs to the franchise, and the territory that you buy that belongs to the franchise. That's a business in a box, and you can sell it off if you build it up, where you can walk away from it and give it all back. So I'm selling the franchises in WA and Sydney now for 55, inclusive of all those things. The only thing that comes on top is their license requirements, because in Sydney you can do 6 modules and be licensed for termites and general pests. In WA, you've got to get your full license to do everything, which is about 10 modules you can do with the training institution. Building inspections, I've got a little bit of a different concept because a lot of training is done by the national office, which is in Melbourne. So they do complete residential building inspection training, they do new construction training, they do asbestos training. And down in my own state, I can do the termite inspection training, which is the third party that's training the pest controllers as well. I also marry them up with the pest controllers so they can learn the physical installments about the termite systems to learn more knowledge about. And then we do method inspection training with them and depreciation schedules. You can see it's a very diversified service. There's so much they can do. Termite inspections is not quite a building inspection service. It belongs to the pest controllers. It's a bit of a education process to explain to them how it works, and this is where the times 2 challenges come in from time to time. But if they've gone through the 6 or 12 month process about learning how to do it, and they become very, very good, and they get some licenses done as well, then they become really good termite inspectors. And that's how they run their businesses. So the 2 components they have to do to start a building inspection franchise is the generator training office in Melbourne and the complete residential building inspection training. What I really require from anyone to get into that is a minimum Cert 4 in any trade, like a plumber or electrician or bricklayer or painter could work as well. Anyone with at least a Cert 4, building and construction diploma is obviously far better. And obviously, with the Gold Coast business you have to be a licensed builder. WA, you don't have to be a licensed builder, but I prefer if you are qualified and experienced of a licensed builder, just to make it, if I get a licensed builder job, I still have to train them to do inspections. No one is, but to do a licensed builder doesn't mean you
automatically can do it. Yeah.
Can't do it, right? Because especially WA, you can be a painter for 15 years and be a licensed builder. It doesn't mean you know the code. Yeah. So we still have to train them. And so, a licensed builder ticket just helps it. Queensland, you have to be a licensed builder. It can take anything from 3 to 4 months again to start a franchisee and building inspections, all right? The branding on both these 2 businesses, they look fantastic. The canopies and trailers I've got now, they look absolutely fantastic. They stand out. There's billboards driving. And the building inspections, graphics and designs on their cars look phenomenal. They look so great. So where you go, you look professional, right? You look so professional. And that's the start. There's lots of independent inspectors, building inspectors, and a lot of independent pest controllers. They don't look nearly as good as we are.
Yeah, I've seen a few things driving around, but I will say quickly about the JBI guys. I've interviewed a lot of them on the YouTube channel, and the one thing I learned is obviously most of them are former builders, and they're just mentally relieved all the time I interview the JBI guys. You can talk about them being previous builders for 15, 20 years, and then you just hear how much happier they are, and they will tell you as well. And with the pest control side of it, then, Manie, as an industry, why do you like that industry, or what is interesting about the industry? Because I don't think it's something where, I don't want to speak for anyone without knowing it too fully, but I don't know if it's the first industry that someone maybe coming from a corporate world will go, I'm going to do pest control out the bat. So as an industry, just talk a little bit about what's good about the industry and why is it an exciting industry to get into? Because the money's obviously fantastic if you work hard. from the revenue you've been talking about before?
Just to start off with that question, the reason I got into pest control is I was running the building inspection business, and I got to know pest controllers because I find termites at buildings doing inspections, and I had to engage the pest controllers. And then one day I looked at this and said, hang on a sec, there's such great synergies between these two. I really want to be involved in both. And that's when I bought my first pest control region. I bought my own franchise, and I was running the franchise for 3-4 years to know everything about it and have my licenses, the whole works. I just developed this passion for it because it's a really easy business. It's much easier. The building inspections is hard. It's tough, all right? And I support building inspectors a lot. You know, it's really a skill and a knowledge you got to have with your past experience. With pest control, anyone can do it. I can make the best pest controller out of any person. Doesn't matter what you've done before, all right? You can be an accountant today, and I can make you a pest controller tomorrow. And Australia-wide, pests are a problem everywhere you go. They are in the ground and around, and what we do is we level the ground, we build our houses on top of the pests. So creepy crawler is always going to be invading the houses, so you always got an enormous amount of work. By nature, people don't like rodents. People don't like cockroaches. People don't get the heebie-jeebies for spiders. And what do we have? We have a division that can control those problems for you. So it's a great business. We had this little issue, which I'm fixing this culture, where people believed our business is very seasonal. Got to be careful with my answer here because, yes, it is seasonal for spiders and it's seasonal for certain things that drops off. All right. So in the summer with the heat, especially here in WA and also Northern Territory, when spider season is up, mate, it's crazy. So that's why there's so much work because they just move in. But
bedbugs everywhere. Yeah.
The summer just started here in Perth yesterday, and today across my equipment that's sitting out here on my property is just spider cobwebs everywhere. Right? Oh goodness, I'm a pest controller. I better sort this out. But it's such a great business, all right. But not just about killing stuff. What I'm searching for at the moment is to be different than any other pest control company. I'm searching for natural products. I'm searching for natural ways to resolve things.
Which I think it's become really way more important now with people being more conscious about chemicals and what they put in their home. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. So I can tell you a little bit about, not a lot of franchisees know what I've been doing, but there's franchisors that's been hearing what I've been doing. But I went to China last year to the big building conference there, and my purpose was about searching and defining how we can get products and materials and equipment and stuff that we can supply ourselves to our franchisees. And I'm going to give you a simple example, all right? We pay for drill bits alone that we drill through concrete and stuff. We pay $66 at Bunnings, but our suppliers supply them to us at $44. But I bought the first lot in China, and I paid 80 cents a drill bit. Exactly the same thing. And I thought, well, hang on a second, I can buy 1,000 of these things, and with the logistics and the storage and everything, I can still sell it to my franchisees for $20, half of what the suppliers are charging. But this is the kind of thing I'm looking at. Where can I take Jim's Pest Control? All right, there's so many things I can do with it to make it a lot better and make it more sticky, because we could just supply our franchisees with stuff. And I think Jim's Pool Care does it, or Jim's Cleaning does it. They supply with the stuff. And I'm just excited about where we can go with this business, Joel, because we are a big player in the industry, and we've got a lot of franchisees. And I just think about, if our suppliers can't look after us, we have to look after ourselves. We are a brand that's bigger than any brand in Australia. We got to be able to have leverage and do stuff differently.
That's a great point. Well, I did a day on the road with James over here in Melbourne. It's on YouTube, and the thing I liked about pest control was every job was, he just had to, it was a problem solve. Like, it wasn't clear what the customer wanted, and he had to do a bit of investigation. Like, it wasn't boring at all. Like, it was all about problem solving and, seeing what clues were there and working things out. And then, the customer was saying one thing and then he'd work out something else. It was quite, it's a quite mentally stimulating job. There might be some divisions in gyms, which I'm not going to say the divisions about, might get a bit monotonous after a while. Whereas if you're one, you've got to constantly learn, and there was a lot of problem solving at every different job, and you use up in all ladders and all these different things, and it was quite a very varied day. So the day in the life of the pest controls on our YouTube channel, which I think is a good watch for people as well.
Yeah, 100% right. And I get all of these calls, and sometimes I get really exciting stories about, oh man, I just want to share this good story with you about I had this problem. Every time whether it's ants or cockroaches or spiders or ants or any creepy crawly or problem, every house is different. And these guys become specialists about doing it, right? And some of them absolutely have a passion for how they do stuff. Sniffer dogs, fighting termites. We've got actually a franchisee in the East Coast is training sniffer dogs.
Really? Wow, that's a first. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got a franchisee here in WA that's got a sniffer dog, and he paid an enormous amount of money for this dog. And it was so amazing. I went out with him on a job, and you can't believe how he sniffed out the termites. It's just incredible. Right, so we want to do stuff like that. And I said to the franchisee that's in the East Coast, it's a separate business he's got. I said, mate, you've got to make that available for franchisees that's interested in buying these dogs from you. Because it takes their business to a next level. And also equipment. I mean, I know one of the franchisors in the East Coast, he doesn't want to start a franchisee without a termite track. Termite track is a device that does noise detection to detect termites in the floors and stuff.
Yep.
And that's how you train them up. So what I'm saying to you is we just try to make sure we set up our franchisees and pest control with pop-in stuff that the normal pest controllers don't do. And that's going to make us standing out from them. But it's a fantastic business. I absolutely love it. That's why I've got so much passion for it.
It's an absolutely well-kept, it's a well-kept secret. As I said, it's probably not the first gyms division people think of, but a lot of the people in it make fantastic money, and it's extremely mentally stimulating, and they hang around for a while, and they get fantastic value, as you said before, with the independent, guy went independent compared to what he's doing now compared to gyms. It's fantastic value. It's a great industry, I think, for anyone to get into, and it's something that you've got to constantly learn in that industry as well. It's not a boring industry, so I think it's a fantastic option for someone.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, you heard all about the culture and all the technical systems and everything we want to do. The next stage for us is now to grow. We have a very great bunch of franchisees at the moment. Now the plan is we want to grow even bigger, more franchisees, but successful franchisees, good franchisees. And the whole franchisor leadership team is now absolutely motivated and driven to actually take that journey on. We've got a lot of new guys that's going to start in the next few months. And it's all about driving a different culture. It's going to be amazing.
No, both the divisions you have are fantastic. I've spoken to a lot of franchisees in both, and interviews people can watch, and I just think revenue they make, the ROI from the actual initial purchase price, it just hands down can't be beaten. It's simple as that, and people need to definitely take it a lot more seriously. Don't be talked out of it by an accountant or a business advisor or someone who's got no idea, which happens all the time. And then they come in 5 years later and say, I shouldn't have listened to that person, which I hear it all the time. So people need to not listen and just do their own research and think for themselves and get stuck in with it. So, Manie, is there anything else I didn't ask you that I should have asked you today? We've been going for a while now. You provided a lot of great information.
On the top of my head, I'd say doesn't matter what industry you work in as an employee or what business you work in. Every single one of them is going to have challenges, all right? So if you come into gyms because you think, oh, it's a franchise and it's all perfect and it's all, roses and whatever, you make a massive, massive mistake. It is really, really hard. It's like any other business. It's got significant challenges. You got to bump heads with personalities. You're gonna adopt a system. You think it's rubbish. You're not gonna like it. That's all the negative stuff. You got to absolutely convert that into a positive mindset and say, all right, it's a gyms brand. It's a phenomenal brand, and I'm gonna make a success of the business. And I have to develop a strong personality and positive mindset about how to make a success of it. So do your research, be aware it's not going to be smooth. There are going to be challenges. You just got to have to work around those challenges. And trust me, I've received breach notices in my journey. And I got upset when I got them. And I go like, this is not fair. This is not right. I've done everything I could. But it's about the learning journey, all right? And then I wouldn't do that again. I've learned something. All right.
I should have laughed at that, but I do know what you're going through with that sort of stuff, and I do know what you're talking about. People inside gyms will know.
Yeah, it's tough, and I think the system is really tough sometimes. But you got to look beyond that. You got to set yourself your target, your 20-year plan. What do you want to achieve? You should never buy into any business. You should never buy into gyms without your research and with a mindset. Oh, it's going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be hard work. That's the only thing I want to share. I'd never make it to any prospect out as if this is going to be a perfect journey for you. I said to him, you can fail. You could fail. It's about your mindset you put in, because there's going to be challenges. And you've got to sometimes be completely out of your comfort zone. But being out of your comfort zone means you could get to
You're going to grow. It's the only way you're going to grow it. That's exactly right. Great interview, Manny. Thanks for all your advice. It's really, really good. If anyone wants to inquire for your region, simply just call 131-546 or head to the gyms.net website or any of the websites that inquire. And if you have listened to the end of this, if you're going to inquire, Manny, you're going to have one of the best franchisors in the group based on, the Diamond Award. So well done on that, Manny. Number 1 and number 4 is quite a really good achievement. So you might be, I don't know how you're going to top that next year, but we'll see if you can.
Yeah, I've got 7 regions, so I'll just
You get all 7 in a Diamond Award. Yeah, it'd be amazing if you do. All right, no worries, Manny. Thank you very much for your time today. We'll leave it there.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the episode of the Gyms podcast. If you want to learn more about the Gyms Group, head to gyms.net or call us on 131-546 Australia or 0800 454 654 New Zealand. And if you did like the episode as well, please make sure you leave a review or a comment or a thumbs up or a comment on the video as well. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.